a sight to behold. The freshy looks really remind me of a disco ball. Yes, I saw the big camera. We'll talk about this in a moment. So the Honor 50 has a chromed outline around the phone, with its volume rocker and unlock button on the left, nothing on the right, and 2 mics on top, and the speaker, USB-C port, and dual micro SIM slot below. Yes, let's talk about the camera. These unique looking circles are the camera cutouts of the Honor 50. Yes, it is quite big. Looks kinda familiar too, and I don't know why. Now these beautiful cameras are the main show of the Honor 50. The main shooter is a 108 megapixel ultra clear camera with a 1 to 1.52 inch sensor and has an f1.9 aperture. The 1 to 1.52 inch sensor is among the largest sensor size in the market. Developed by Samsung, the ISOCELL HM2S 5KH M2 is the same sensor used by flagship phones of other brands. As for the rest of the camera, we have an 8 megapixel 17mm ultra-wide camera with a 120-degree field of view and an f2.2 aperture, as well as a 2 megapixel macro camera with f2.4 aperture and a 2 megapixel depth camera with f2.2 aperture. So let's see how well the camera performs. We're over at Sentul Park checking out the scenery here. First, Honor still retains its AI camera function. Here, let's do a comparison with AI camera enabled and not enabled. Honestly, I can't see much difference here. Probably due to the good lighting at an outdoor park. Enough light equals less need of modifications. AI here is likely the smart scene selection anyway. On the high-res mode, you'll get a whopping 108 megapixel image out. With this, you get more details with the megapixel. What you can do is zoom in and still get great details out from the cropped image. Just to give you an idea how big a 108 megapixel image is, you can print a big image that can cover a medium-sized room. In Pro mode, you can zoom in with the camera, but bear in mind through this is digital zooming, which means the camera just crops into the middle of the image, without moving into any lens or mechanical parts. With the max zoom range limited at 10 times, that means when you crop in 10 times, you still get 10.8 megapixels when fully zoomed in. Zooming in 7.8 times, you can already see some artifacts around it. At this point, I would avoid zooming into such range. In macro mode, well, you'll get 2 megapixel fixed focus range. I find fixed focus relatively hard to use. Without any focus confirmation or focus peaking, we have to eyeball the camera. That leaves us with frequent misfires, and when the focus is missed by a margin, the whole image is spoiled. So if you're going to use the macro camera, do use it carefully. Let's move to the video capacity. The Honor 50 is capable of shooting 4K videos at 30 FPS, 1080p videos at 30 FPS and 60 FPS, as well as 720p videos at 30 FPS. The front camera is capable of shooting 1080p videos at 30 FPS and 60 FPS. The Honor 50's video has an odd EIS implementation to it. You get this weird jitter to it when you're shooting moving footage. Check out our sample for this. And the sad thing is, we can't disable the EIS, but we are able to remedy the jitter with warp stabilization in Premiere Pro. It's not perfect, but it's something. Also, we do notice that the video is quite oversaturated. Now the front camera is fun to play with. This is probably the most practical part of the phone in the right hands. In the multi-video mode, we have a few modes that are available for different situations. Front or rear mode, where the main rear camera and front camera is engaged. Rear or rear mode, the main camera zoomed in, plus the wide-angle camera. I like this mode. The viewer gets to see the environment plus a close-up. Picture-in-picture mode, I guess it's quite self-explanatory. Rear mode, okay. And front mode, which is just selfie mode. Yep, my favorite is the rear/rear mode. Look at the ducks. So how do I feel about using the Honor 50? The front fingerprint scanner is very responsive, that's for sure. I really do miss using the Magic UI. With its 120Hz, it's really smooth. And yes, with the return of GMS, it means users can enjoy Facebook and other.
Hello, I hope you guys can hear me. So yeah, we are currently back to OBS instead of Streamlabs. So hopefully everything is still working. I'm not exactly sure because this is our first stream using OBS again. So last week I tried to do it, but because of some other issues I didn't do it, because why I need to use OBS is to be able to stream to YouTube as well. So I don't exactly know if like there's anyone. Oh, why is it stopped on YouTube? That's odd. Huh, it's dead on YouTube. That's weird. I have no idea why is it dead on YouTube, but it is dead on YouTube. Yeah, I guess we'll probably have to try out next week, see what happens. Or is this still live? I have no idea. It says it's dead. I'm very confused. But yeah, welcome to episode 122 if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, so this week we're gonna be quite fast because I actually need to get back to the reviews, which you can see here. And Intel has been nice enough to send us a very nice little plate with their processors, and this is actually the Alder Lake die shot, along with a picture of the actual Alder Lake on the back. So they were not exactly inclined to tell us which Alder Lake it exactly is, but it is one of the lakes in the US. I'm not exactly sure whether Coffee Lake is the actual lake, but yeah, so Alder Lake is actually an actual lake. Just in case you wanted a little bit of trivia, which are 12th gen news. So of course, because this is the week where I think 12th gen is probably the biggest bit of news this week, so we will definitely be covering the 12th gen news. And let's just get right into it. So instead of showing you just a blank image, I think I would just show you guys the actual article, and you guys can go check it out if you want, or just watch the stream. Hopefully the quality is good enough so that you can actually see the images. So yeah, 12th gen, as you guys may know, is the first time that Intel is going for hybrid architecture, which is pretty cool. Just now split screen, the 2-channel delay. Got channel delay. Oh, you mean the between the channels lah? So I guess that's probably normal because Facebook and YouTube, they have probably different latencies. So yeah, I think on Facebook the latency is a bit different that you can set to, and I mean Facebook is set to I think like 20-30 seconds. YouTube, I'm not really sure. So yeah, this is our UI here, which is, yeah, that's why I'm actually handling a bit on this tiny laptop, and it has proven to be very capable. So this is, I think I told you guys many times, this is the 8th gen plus the GTX 10 series GPU, the GTX 1070. Overall, quite a happy setup. Still working quite fine. Probably be upgrading to AMD plus RTX 30 series, but yeah, I have to see first. Hello everyone. So I go through the comments. Nothing, any major comments. Hola everyone, hola. Anniversary follower anniversary. I have no idea, but I see everyone is anniversary follower. Most of you guys are anniversary followers, so yeah, congratulations for meeting the anniversary. Yeah, so there are a lot of tabs because yeah, obviously I am handling this stream alone now, and I'm the only one who has access to this. So yeah, I do the tab switching everything. So yeah, anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the main topic of the week, which is a news recap. So as you can see in the viewfinder, I guess, I don't know, this website, so this article was written by me anyway. So yeah, the 12th gen Intel Core processors are the first hybrid x86 architecture processors to come to desktop. So previously Intel did make the Lakefield processors, but they were only for very low powered laptops and ultra portable devices. So I guess that doesn't exactly count. And also Lakefield was sort of kind of a lackluster launch at start, because yeah, back then we didn't have the optimizations to take advantage of it, and I guess it was a very very clear first attempt, and also obviously because it's using very small atom cores at the time, not exactly the latest architectures. So yeah, it didn't exactly perform, and I think most people in the end didn't actually opt for it. And I haven't even seen an actual product in Malaysia that uses Lake Field. But yeah, Alder Lake is gonna be more powerful, obviously, because it's meant for the desktop, and yeah, you get 240 watts boost power, as well as, you know, being able to overclock them. So obviously this is a much more stronger attempt at the hybrid architecture. Now, when they first introduced this architecture, I mean, they announced it, obviously, when the first thing I saw was, why do we need a hybrid architecture in the desktop? I mean, we have plenty of power in desktop, and we aren't exactly striving for too much efficiency when it comes to desktop processors. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have a more efficient desktop processor, but I mean, 250 watt desktop processors, 300 watt, we don't really mind. So yeah, it's not like a smartphone or, you know, a laptop where, you know, every watt counts, because that translates to battery life, and also thermal. But, you know, in a desktop you have plenty of thermal dissipation, and you got 1600 watt power supplies nowadays. So it, to me, didn't make much sense until when they detailed the architecture in more detail. The 12th gen is actually quite an interesting architecture because of the way that the processor can offload less important tasks to the smaller cores. And I think because of this, they can actually offer you 16 cores without, you know, increasing the die size by too much. So obviously now you have 16 cores, but, you know, 8 cores are the performance cores, which are pretty much what you would expect, you know, with a desktop processor, like, you know, your usual 11 gen, 10 gen, that kind of core. But obviously this is the latest architecture. It's the architecture is called Sunny Cove, which is the latest core architecture. So this is coming after, you know, Willow Cove, Cypress Cove, all that stuff. This is the latest from Intel, and it's very interesting. And of course, that is the performance aspect. And to simplify the naming, actually Intel calls it the P cores, while the E cores are the efficient cores, which are based on the Atom Grace-Mont architecture. So these are the efficient cores, and they are still quite powerful. I think in the previous article that we discussed about the gains that they made, the E-cores here are actually faster than Skylake. So let me just check a message. I might have received a message from the team regarding this. No, it's not. Right, so it's not the team. So yeah, the E-cores are actually quite powerful, and they can handle the background tasks, you know, for example, like, you know, when you're playing games, you can do the streaming and stuff, you can handle that, which gives you a lot more performance, you know, when you need more cores to handle the kind of workloads. So, and of course, when it comes to Intel, I think everyone knows that, you know, gaming is one of their main focuses now. So we have this impressive leap in gaming performance, and from what you can see is that they actually went up by up to 25%, if I'm not mistaken, when it comes to gaming. Yeah, I did mention it. I forgot, where is it? Yeah, they made pretty huge, up to 28% improvements, and if you're actually streaming while gaming, you can get up to 84% performance improvement, which is very significant, I would say, especially if you plan on streaming, or, you know, you are a streamer already. So 12th gen might be the thing for you. And of course, with these upgrades, with the massive core count increase, even though it's 8 efficient cores instead of, you know, 8 plus 8 of all the performance cores alone, you still get a very good improvement in, you know, content creation, with up to 100% faster in Adobe After Effects, which I think if you do video editing, you definitely will find this interesting. Of course, we'll be testing some of these claims, because obviously that's what we do our reviews for, to see whether they're actually, you know, living up to their claims. But yeah, and of course, this being all the Intel 12th gen Intel Core processors announced are, you know, K series, so they're unlocked and you can do overclocking. And this time Intel claims to offer you plenty of overclocking features, as you can see in the image here. So you can not only overclock the performance cores, you can also overclock the efficient cores, and of course the cache as usual, and also the graphics. But I don't think many people go down that route, because, you know, gamers, we use dedicated graphics. And yeah, memory overclocking and also base clock overclocking. So memory overclocking is of course something that Intel has been pushing recently, and you can see with their previous 11 gen as well, they use this gearing thing. It's also back in 12th gen. And the fancy thing about 12th gen is that you get to overclock both DDR4 and DDR5 memory, which is kind of impressive, because yeah, if you look at our previous articles about motherboards, you will notice that there are DDR4 and also DDR5 models. So yeah, the Alder Lake has to be able to handle both, and it gives, you know, gamers and, you know, enthusiasts an option. If let's say you want to use your DDR4 memory while you wait for DDR5 prices to, you know, get to more sane levels. You can, and there is an option available as long as you get the right motherboard for it. And of course, I think given that, you know, there's the experience with DDR4, I think it shouldn't have any drawbacks, but of course we will definitely see. I have the motherboard for DDR5 unfortunately, so I can't actually test how well it does with DDR4, but I do believe we will most probably see some DDR4 motherboards come our way. So yeah, we'll probably test that as well. Obviously I'm not the best overclocker, so I might not have even met the limits of 11th gen, but yeah, we will see what we can achieve on, you know, DDR4 on Alder Lake if we get the motherboards for it. But yeah, for now, for our review when it comes out sometime next week, it's gonna be with DDR5 on the Maximus Z690 Hero, which is the motherboard we received from Asus to overclock the processor and also the memory. So yeah, there are only like 6 SKUs, 6 SKUs, including, you know, the non-iGPU, the F series which doesn't have iGPU, and the one with the iGPU. So the iGPU seems to be the same as what was in the previous generation. It's also the XE graphics architecture based, but because there are only 32 execution units, they're gonna call it Intel UHD Graphics 770. And from what I can see, the main difference would of course be the clock speed, because previously I think it was the i9 was kept at 1.3 GHz, but now you get 1.55 GHz, which is small upgrade, and I believe very few people will actually experience it, because, you know, the way that, you know, most of the enthusiasts will probably end up using the GPU. But we will be testing the iGPU. I did collect some data on the iGPU when it comes to, you know, content creation workloads, and we will compare them to see whether, you know, the 12th gen is actually any better. So one disclaimer sort of, so the 11th gen CPU that I was testing is obviously overclocked, because we want to see what at the highest point of 11th gen will it match, you know, the starting, I mean like the base of 12th gen. So yeah, that would probably be interesting to see. Even I haven't seen the results yet because I haven't started on the full benchmarking and comparisons yet, but yeah, everything is on the way, so stay tuned for that. How did Pocket Kena burn? So yeah, the prices are here as well, but yeah, these are the RCP, recommended customer pricing, so these are not retail pricing, and I'm not sure how much it will be, but I think when it comes to the market, probably you should be able to see maybe the i5 going for about 1.6, 1.7k, about that kind of price range. So I don't think it will be too expensive, because yeah, if it's too expensive, no one will get them, and there's not much point for Intel to make processors that no one will buy. But yeah, obviously the starting price should be more reasonable. Probably the i9 might be expensive because, well, it's i9. It's not meant to entice people to buy it. It's only for the hardcore users, or, you know, the real enthusiasts out there. So yeah, if you're looking for, you know, a 12th gen processor that doesn't have the overclocking features, and you want something that is more comfortable on your wallet, you'll need to wait until next year, because for now, this year Intel is only releasing the K series processors, and the locked processors will be coming next year. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Anyway, I want to check whether this is actually the same stream or not. I'm not really sure actually. Never mind. I also don't know how to navigate the YouTube UI actually. So, since we talked about the processors, I think it's probably time to talk about, oh yeah, we didn't talk about this 600 series chipset, but I think we can talk about it since we are going to the motherboard anyway. So the 600 series chipset is quite a major upgrade over the 500 series. So with the 400 and 500 series, I think one thing that many people were kind of slightly disappointed with the motherboards is that they didn't have PCIe 4 lanes on the chipset. So unlike AMD with their X570, and yeah, only the X570, the X570 has, you know, PCIe 4 lanes from the chipset, so you can run, you know, more SSDs, more PCIe 4 SSDs than you could on, well, Intel. But this year they changed it, and then this year the Intel's Z690 chipset will actually have 12 PCIe 4 lanes and 16 PCIe 3 lanes. So there are plenty of lanes for you to plug in your SSD to, and this I think is definitely something very impressive from Intel. And the other main upgrade is also the fact that the interconnect between the CPU and the chipset is now X8 DMI 4.0, which is based on PCIe 4. So that's twice the bandwidth of what you get on, you know, Z Z590. Yeah, so it's twice the bandwidth of Z590, and you have to also remember that Z590 had twice the bandwidth of Z490. So essentially, it is 4 times the bandwidth of the Z490 motherboards, and the older motherboards which came with DMI 3.0 X4 connect. Yeah. Read Pocket. So processors I think should be okay, as I mentioned earlier. Motherboards and RAM, I don't know the price yet, but RAM I think ADATA has already announced theirs, and it's $620 for 16 gigs, which is reasonably priced. I mean, if you consider the fact that it runs at 4800 megahertz, 620 is quite affordable, because if you try to get a 16 gigs kit for DDR4 16 gigs running at 4800, you'll probably be looking at spending about $1,000, around $1,000, $800, around that price. So yeah, if you're talking about same speed, is reasonable. But if you're talking like memory versus memory, so DDR4 16 gigs versus DDR5 16 gigs, DDR4 is quite a lot cheaper. So that's why you have the options for DDR4 motherboards. And I think that's why we need to go on to talk about the motherboards. So I saw that a lot of you guys are actually very interested in the ROG Maximus, the Asus ROG Z690 motherboards, of which there are 10 of them. And yeah, we'll be going through some of them. If you guys want to go more in depth, you guys can probably go check out on their website, or just look at our images. We actually have more details about them as well on our Facebook page as well. So yeah. The ROG Maximus Z690 Extreme is definitely their flagship, other than the Glacial. So these two motherboards are pretty much the same, with the exception that the Glacial has this water block over it, this monoblock, which is developed in partnership with EK, obviously, because I think EK has the best water cooling parts that I know of. I don't exactly know if they're any better, but I know Bisky is more affordable. But when it comes to quality and you want that that beautiful aesthetic, it definitely has to be EK. And obviously you can look at it and you can just know just how pretty it is. I mean, literally, even though I don't run custom water loop, but I would love to have this board. I would build a PC, I would build a custom loop just to use this motherboard. It's that pretty. And so so this motherboard comes with 24+1 power stage power architecture, which is about 12 phase. Yeah, it's 12 phase because Asus is still using their teamed power architecture. But you have to understand that 24 power stages is a lot. So apparently with 12th gen, because they have the performance cores and efficient cores working together, and they boost at different frequencies and whatnot, so they had to have a very robust power architecture to handle that kind of thing. All the way down to, let's say, the Hero. You can even get this Hero motherboard, which is considered the baby ROG Maximus motherboard. Even the ROG Maximus Z690 Hero has 20+1 phases, which is way more than what we had previously. I think the previous gen was 14 or 16. So yeah, this is a major upgrade for this generation. And I would say that the design of the motherboards have also seen a very major upgrade. I mean, look at this. This part here, this ROG text here is actually this is actually anime metrics. So I don't know whether you guys know, but I hope you guys know. I really love the ROG Zephyrus G14, and that has the anime metrics, and I absolutely gushed all over it. And this is on a motherboard, and it's in color. So yeah, you get actually 2 displays with the ROG Maximus Z690 Extreme motherboards. So not only you get the anime metrics here, you also get a small Live Dash OLED here, which lets you do monitoring. So I don't think this one is available for monitoring. This one is more towards graphics and stuff. But this one you can monitor your stats on, your temperature, your voltages, all that kind of stuff, if you want to. Or, you can just have it show Glacial, or, put your name there, so that people know that this is your PC, so that they won't terambil when, you go to LAN parties. But obviously, if I see this motherboard, I will terambil. Don't tell anyone I terambil though. But in any case, yeah, so moving on, we have the ROG Maximus Z690 Apex, which is designed for record-breaking runs. So you can see that the main thing with this motherboard is that it only has 2 RAM slots, and this is not normal, because obviously most ATX motherboards have 4 RAM slots, but this one you have 2, because that allows you to have better signal integrity when it comes to memory overclocking and stuff. And you can actually see, even with the Z590, the ROG Maximus Z690 Apex, the MSI MSI Mac Z590 Unify X or the Unify Z590i Unify. Those two slotted motherboards are usually the ones that break all the records, because when you have 4 RAM slots, the memory signal has to travel further, and obviously when you have these high frequencies signal traveling that far, you have a bit more interference and stuff. So while all the motherboards, they do try their best to prevent that, it's something that's unavoidable, and the longer it is, the harder it is to keep it clean, which is why a motherboard like this with only 2 slots helps you when it comes to you want to push the memory overclocking to the absolute limits. And I would say that they actually did a very good job with the design. So previously you might have seen the Apex look quite weird, because for some reason, despite Apex being an overclocking motherboard, they did have quite a lot of RGB, and it's not exactly a stylish way of putting RGB. But now with this, you get this sweet little lines here and the logo, and this is all the RGB you get. The rest of it is mainly focused towards cooling and performance, with all the toggles and all the buttons and all the switches and stuff. So yeah, I would say that this generation probably has the best looking Apex motherboard. And they also made a very little small cutout here, which is a tiny attention to detail, but yeah, just nice, I would say. And you can also see that it has a very wide gap between the 2 GPUs, 2 main PCIe slots. So if you plan on overclocking your memory, your graphics card for 3D Mark Hall of Fame scores, then yeah, you definitely need this gap, because you want to put a LN2 port in between. You want to put huge coolers in between. Obviously, this gap spacing is much better. I don't exactly know how they can maintain the signal integrity for PCIe 5 over these 2 lanes, but yeah, they did it. And obviously this board is going to cost you a lot, but I don't think this is a board that most people will buy, because yeah, it's meant for hardcore overclockers, not for normal casual gamers. So if you are a casual gamer who has a lot of money, you can go for the Extreme or maybe the Formula. And if you look at the Formula, I think the first thing that you will notice is that it looks very much like the ROG phones lighting, the what they call it, what's this name, ROG Vision. So yeah, it's a dotted design for both this IO shield area, IO cover area, and also the PCA heatsink. And there's actually a Live Dash OLED here, which unfortunately I chose the image that doesn't show it. So yeah, but the main highlight this time around is that it's white, and you can see that they went with this logo as well, which is very similar to their laptops. I think they actually took quite a lot of inspiration from the laptops for this design. So yeah, and obviously being a Formula motherboard, it comes with a built-in heatsink, which looks good and performs well. So with the Z590 motherboards, Z590 Formula, we did notice that this EK cross chill heatsink, which actually has tubes in them, so you can actually just connect it to a custom water loop, and they will be water cooled. You water cool your VRM just like that. But yeah, if you run it on air, it works, but it actually runs hotter than the Hero motherboards, because the Hero is actually designed for air, but Formula is designed for water cooling. So if you plan on really just using air cooling, you might want to opt for the Hero instead. So we already mentioned a little bit about Hero, and you can see that it has a very nice design. So this apparently is a Polymo design. I haven't turned on my board to see what it actually can do, what I can actually do, because even if I do, I have to wait until I'm done with the CPU testing. So yeah, this actually has like 2 ways you can play with it. It's almost like an anime matrix, but not fully anime matrix. But yeah, we have to see what we can do with that. Of course, yeah, the overall design is pretty simple, but I think they still made a very nice effort, to differentiate from the previous generation, which I would say still looks good. I wouldn't say that the ROG Z590 Hero looks bad, because I still use it on the bench rig, because it's a very good board. But yeah, I think this year they really nailed it when it comes to the design of the ROG Maximus motherboards. And even the Z690 motherboards are also looking very good. This is Z690E, Z690F, Z690G, which is a good option if you like MATX cases, because I think there are plenty of MATX cases in the market that are quite affordable and look very good, but there aren't that many premium motherboards that are in the MATX format. So yeah, this is definitely a very good option. I would say it looks good. I would say the heatsinks look a bit like the previous generation, not exactly groundbreaking, but yeah, I mean, don't change what's ain't broken. So yeah, looks good. Probably one of the more popular motherboards as well. But yeah, unfortunately it doesn't support DDR4, which probably would be interesting if you plan on getting a affordable casing, you know, with affordable RAM and, you know, an ROG motherboard for you to show off your beauty, your gaming, because you're joining the Republic of Gamers, you know. But yeah. So then the next one is Z690A, which also comes in white, and the great thing is that this also supports DDR4, so you know, you get a more affordable pathway into the Z690 12th gen Intel Core ecosystem, and it looks good. So yeah, this is probably also going to be quite a popular motherboard among gamers, because I don't feel like DDR5 is something you should upgrade to right away. But if you're interested, actually you can go check out about DDR5, which we'll actually be talking about in a bit. So the next one is the ITX one, the Z690i, and this is actually a very compact motherboard, which, you know, looks good, I would say. The design is very, very beautiful, but yeah, it's small, and it also has this separate plug-in card, which some people were actually worried it will touch the GPU, but I think when we get it to test, we will see whether it actually touches any GPUs. I don't think Asus is that bad when it comes to tolerances, because obviously all of these has specifications, and you can't exceed specifications when it comes to, you know, how much space you have around your PCIe slot, how much space you have clearance when it comes to, you know, this and that. So yeah, I don't think it will be running into any issues, but definitely something we have to see if it actually has. But this is definitely one of my most one of the boards that I'm most interested in, because, you know, look at the socket, it's that huge, and then, you know, it takes up so much space of the area around it. I think, yeah, this is very beautiful. Nak terbeli dua, macam mana nak terbeli dua? We can't even buy one. Yeah, we can't even afford one. ROG for life. Yep, white, so beautiful. Yeah, I think this year, white enthusiasts, white PC gaming, white PC enthusiasts, white enthusiasts, white PC builders. White PC builders is so wrong. People who like white builds will definitely be very happy this year, because there are actually 2 ROG motherboards in white. So yeah, something you can look forward to. Now the next one is DDR5 versus DDR4. I'm gonna go very quickly on this, because you guys can go check out the article, and I will share the link, because this is definitely something that I think would be best if you go slowly over it. So yeah, DDR5 versus DDR4, I think the main thing is that, you know, since that we are with Alder Lake already now, and Alder Lake is actually gonna be available for sale starting the 4th of October, you might be questioning yourself whether should you get a DDR4 motherboard or a DDR5 motherboard. So obviously, if you want maximum performance on the Alder Lake, DDR5 is the way to go, but then DDR4 is definitely a lot more affordable, as we discussed earlier. But yeah, so when it comes to speed, DDR5 starts off at much higher speeds. It starts off at 4800. I think the JEDEC spec allows for 3200, but I think all the OEMs are going to start from 4800. So yeah, it's about at least 50% faster than normal DDR4 memory, which is about 3200. But yeah, and the highest spec for DDR5 actually goes up to 6400, which is way higher than DDR4, and that is twice faster actually. And obviously we can expect it to scale. So right now we can see DDR4, they actually go all the way up to, like, you know, 7000 megahertz in the overclocking scene. But obviously there's overclocking, and when it comes to overclocking DDR5, there are a lot of options, I believe, and we haven't seen the most out of them yet. So yeah, I think when it comes to speed, definitely don't think that, you know, just because DDR4 now you can get up to, like, you know, 4000, 5000, and then when you want to compare it to DDR4, DDR5 is not exactly apples to apples. And we actually go into why next. So that the main difference is that, you know, each stick is now 2 channels. So instead of previously where, you know, you had to use 2 sticks to get dual channel, now a single stick will give you dual channel memory. But of course, a single stick is only 64 bits of bandwidth, which is exactly the same as, you know, DDR4. But DDR5 splits into 2, so when you connect 2 sticks, you get quad channel, 128 bits of memory bus width, but you get quad channel, and that gives you the memory efficiency gains, which allows the, you know, the CPU can pull data a lot easier, because they don't have to, you know, pull large lengths. They can pull shorter amount of data, and they can get it faster, because, you know, it can go 2 ways. So why you can get dual channel memory being faster is because you get the parallelism. So with 4 channels, obviously that doubles up the parallelism. So while the channel width isn't as wide, you still get to transfer more data through that. And the other thing is that, you know, they actually increase the burst length, so the memory can actually send, each command can get more data out of it, instead of, you know, half the amount of data you get with DDR4, now you get double it with DDR5. And with this DDR5 also, you get 2 times more bank groups, which allows you to have more better latency. So with memory, you actually have to refresh the bank before it's ready to use again. After you load it with data, you have to refresh the bank and then before it's ready. So with DDR5, you can have more groups so they can refresh independently and you can have them available to use much faster, which also once again enables this better memory efficiency. And if you are a person who needs a lot of memory, well, you can get up to 128 gig memory with DDR5, which is not possible with DDR4 because of the density, the fact that it doesn't support that much density, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. And while obviously when we talk about memory voltage, it means a JEDEC spec. So the JEDEC spec for DDR4 is 1.2 volts, while DDR5 is 1.1 volts. So the lower the voltage, obviously the lower the power consumption. But yeah, when you go to overclocking, I think that pretty much throws everything out of the book. So yeah, probably something that's less of a concern to gamers, but probably if you want to build, the most efficient build, most efficient desktop, then I guess, yeah, this will be something that might be interesting to you. And of course, the thing that everyone has been asking about, cost. So according to MSI, they actually expect the cost to be increased by about 50 to 60% coming from DDR4 at launch. So at now, I think in 2021, we are like 5 years, 6 years after DDR4 was launched. I don't exactly remember how many years DDR4. So yeah, it's many years. So with DDR, I think it's like 6, yeah, probably 5, 6 years. So yeah, with DDR4, then you will probably be paying very little now. So about 16 gigs now, you'll be paying about 300 plus 400. So yeah, about 50% more at launch, which I think back then at launch, I don't know how much you need to pay for 16 gig because the main thing with DDR4 is that at the very launch of it, I didn't manage to get on the hype train because I bought a 4th gen laptop. So yeah, I didn't know how much DDR4 actually costs because that was the time I actually entered university and I didn't care about desktops, and also I couldn't afford desktops and I couldn't bring desktops in the first place. So yeah, so 50 to 60% at launch, which is gonna be quite painful on your wallet because now the prices of DDR4 obviously is quite low, but back then it was expensive. And yeah, you have the option to choose DDR4, DDR5 and whatnot. So DDR5 launch, I think, should be coinciding with the Z690 and 12th gen because obviously they are the first platform to support it and the memory has to be there for them to, operate. So yeah. So if you want to get a quick one, you can just read this out. If you want, it's on I think I sent the link in the live. So yeah. What kind of gamer needs 128 gigs of RAM? So I think if you are streaming, maybe. But then again, you do have a point. I think most gamers won't need it. But the fact is that you have to realize that, developers will take advantage of the hardware they have to them. So obviously nowadays, most gamers are, topping out 16 gigs of RAM. So I think developers also will try not to, use that many assets so that they don't break that 16 gig. But I noticed that when I was playing Apex Legends, actually, the game took up about 8 gigs of RAM by itself. So Apex is probably a very light game. It's not exactly, the most taxing game, not like Cyberpunk and stuff. So even that takes up 16 gigs. So imagine, in the future, with more advanced games, how much RAM they will need, and with nowadays streamers and stuff. So I think 128 gigs is probably gonna be something more mainstream. But obviously, I think most people will still go for 32 or 64. Should be more than enough for most people already lah. And of course, this one is also something that I'm very interested in. So finally, we move out of 12th gen and it's compadres. So yeah, we talk about Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us PC port. So Ghost of Tsushima is definitely a game that I'm very interested in to try because I seen PewDiePie played it, I seen my colleague play it, and he's very happy with the game. So yeah, personally, I'm very interested to try it out as well. And hopefully, with PC, when it comes to PC, we can get improved graphics, 4K textures and stuff. Because I think for the PS5, they actually upgraded the textures. So yeah, if it comes to PC, I think hopefully we get that kind of stuff and we get to play in higher frame rate as well, which might come in handy for the smooth slashes and stuff, the timings. Yeah, I hope to get to play that on PC. So God of War came to PC, I think you guys know. I played a little bit of that on the PS4 Pro. Raja Idris, my colleague, lent to me. Quite fun, but I think it's not as fun as Ghost of Tsushima because I don't know, probably the theme. Not exactly a big fan of the Nordic gods theme stuff. Yeah, higher spec. Yeah, obviously when you have, the thing is that when developers have the ability to take advantage of more hardware, when more gamers have that kind of hardware, they would definitely, because it would let them give you better experiences, better, more immersive textures, more immersive visuals and stuff like that. So yeah, and I think that's one of the things that is something that might be coming to happen in games, on mobiles as well, because yeah, I think you guys have seen Samsung is gonna put ray tracing into their upcoming phones, because RDNA 2 architecture is gonna be in the next Samsung flagship. So yeah, I'm not sure when will smartphones start to have ray tracing. I don't think that the current state of ray tracing is suitable to run in phones, because obviously if you guys watch the 6600 XT review or read our 6600 XT review, it's not exactly great, and that is with like what, 28 rate accelerators. So I don't expect a smartphone to have 28 rate accelerators. I think at most they probably have like 4 or 5. So I don't think it's that great. And you have to understand that while smartphone screens are small, their resolution is still very high. So if they try to do ray tracing at the way that PCs nowadays do it, it's not gonna work. I'm not sure what they plan to do with it, whether we will see ray traced games or maybe a ray traced UI, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's not gonna be that soon. So I do believe when Apple starts to release ray tracing in their phones, then I think developers might pay more attention, because I mean, even those Android smartphones have had high refresh rate for how many years now, we don't really see many high refresh rate games. But on the iPad, Genshin Impact is running at 120 Hz. So yeah, this is something that most probably will push the industry towards having ray tracing, but for now, maybe not. So on PC end, I believe it's gonna be the same thing. Higher premiums desktop nowadays can buy second-hand Myvi. I think it's probably also because the fact that second-hand Myvis are getting cheaper. But yeah. Rip wallet. Yeah. Rip wallet. Can't do anything. I mean, the fact is that most things are increasing in prices without our pay increasing at the same rate. So that's one of the main problems. Hopefully soon we'll get our salary at the same rate that the stuff are increasing in the prices at. So then we can afford them, but yeah, I kind of doubt it will happen. It's a capitalist world. EV rebates. Oh yeah, there's not going to be taxes on EVs, right? So yeah, you can get an EV. It can save you some money if you want to buy a new car, but I'm not exactly sure how's the charging system in Malaysia. I don't think it's that widespread. I have a feeling if I drive EV back to my hometown, I won't be able to come back. Which is okay. I should just tell my boss that I work from home now forever because I can't drive my car. But yeah, rip Sony fans. Can't do anything, Sony fans. I think Sony wanted to join the PC Master Race. So yeah, console peasants, checkmate. And the last one is, China students are suing Apple for not including a charger, which are kind of funny. I mean, you should have known when you bought your iPhone that, there are no chargers. But the weird thing is that I still don't know why Apple gives you a charger with your iPad but not your iPhone. And they give you a 20 watt with the iPad, which is great. I don't know why they don't give one with the iPhone, because... But yeah, apparently if you buy an iPad, you don't need to save the world. But if you buy an iPhone, you have to save the world, and it's forced upon you. So yeah, that's about it for this week. News recap, because I think I also need to go back to testing, the beautiful stuff here. Because yeah, it's time to test and give you guys the sweet review so that you guys can decide whether you should get the 12th gen or, skip. I most probably think you guys should get the 12th gen. But yeah, stay tuned for the review. Bye-bye. Oh, wait. I forgot to announce the winner. So yeah, last week's giveaway winner is Chongsen. So congratulations, Jongsen. You have won once again. Thanks for being a loyal supporter. And you know the drill. PM us to get your prize. Apple, please no need to pay extra for charger. I think yeah, if you're talking about that, I think I have always when they first started announcing that they're not going to give chargers, I have already said that you should give the option to ask for a charger if you need one. So like what Xiaomi was doing in China, so you can opt for the charger for free, or you can just opt to save the world and not take the charger, if you have plenty of chargers at home. So that option might be helpful, for people who have plenty of phones like you, me. But for people who, let's say they're getting their first iPhone, they can get a free charger, you know, to use with the iPhone. And obviously, you know, they do give you USB-C to lightning cable, but you know, most chargers in the market right now do not use a USB-C connector. So yeah, that's one thing. But yeah, obviously it's Apple, so you know Apple is not exactly the kind who is kind on your wallet. But yeah, you have to pay for your charger, but if you buy an iPad, you get a free charger. So yeah. Malaysian charging simple, just plug at wall of bay, parking bay. What? The power isn't enough. IKEA Liao. Yeah, IKEA, and I know a few petrol stations nearby in Shah Alam area actually has this EV charging bay. But yeah, I mean, if you go out of, KL, Klang Valley area, I don't think I have seen one actually. Probably in some of the R&Rs, but then also you have to understand, you know, that EV charging takes quite some time. So it's not like, you know, you can just plug it in, you know, like now for us, if we see petrol, one tank, we put the nozzle in, press it, put it auto, we go to toilet, come back, it's usually full. But with the charger, it takes like what? I think the fastest one is like 15 to 30 minutes, right? So that's quite a long time actually. Of course, 15 minutes for us right now, we might think, oh yeah, I already spent 40 minutes talking non-stop. So 15 minutes is like nothing. But when you actually are waiting to go somewhere, let's say you want to go back hometown, 15 minutes is gonna be quite some time. Unless of course you go to R&R to eat. But if you are like rushing on the way back, you know, to do something, it's not gonna work. So not sure how they're gonna do that. I think the best concept right now is the fact that they allow you to swap batteries. I think a few China car EV makers have actually adopted that. That is probably the most logical thing for me. But then again, to have that kind of service across the nation is gonna be quite hard, because then I think you have to look for specific petrol stations to stop, and if you accidentally, you know, miss the point and then you can't reach the next one, I don't know what's gonna happen. But yeah, I think that's probably hopefully the way forward, because if they can swap out a battery for you, you know, that would mean immediately you can just, okay, thank you, buy and go, obviously pay and go. But yeah, it's definitely much faster than charging the same battery, because charging takes too long, I would say. Moral of the story, buy iPad. Buy Pixel, also no charger. Muhammad Saifuddin, buy Pixel, there's no charger, so they are following in the footsteps of, you know, Samsung and Apple. Moral of the story, buy iPad. I do think that, to be honest, I think the best Apple device is actually the iPad, because it's literally in a zone where there's no competition. Android tablets, as you guys have seen, I have commented on them. I don't think Android tablets are anywhere near what iPads can do. And obviously now with the iPad, you know, iPad Pro with the M1, you know, that gap has just grown even further, and iPad OS as well. So yeah, the gap just keeps growing, but you know, Android tablets are still running Android. Obviously, Android updates should probably bring a better experience to it, but it's still Android. How the developers optimize for it is probably not as good as what Apple forces their developers to do, because obviously Apple Store is a lot more stringent when it comes to the, regulation of the apps. So yeah. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for joining this week, and thanks for bringing up EV. I do kind of like EVs. I kind of like cars, but I'm a bad driver, so yeah, I'm not into reviewing cars. But yeah, thank you guys for joining, and I'll see you guys next week, and probably you guys can see the review before the next PokdeLIVE. So yeah, bye bye.